kind of sets the pause for you to get set up and to get going, but also it chills them out in the hive working. So this right here is handy. Always have a sprayer that works good, just something that's dependable. It's even possible to get sprayers that work good anymore. And always keep it topped off. Lemongrass oil, invest in lemongrass oil. That's another important one to have when you look at my list.
Does it have to be that? I mean, maybe it has to be that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what company, just lemongrass oil. Queen clips. That's another one. If you go out for a swarm, so like if you guys have my jacket in the zipper pocket were queen clips. So I have them on me, handy, close. I have them everywhere. Get them. You want metal ones? Not plastic ones, metal ones. These I'm not hugely fond of. They've got a hole in them so queens can't feed themselves. They don't have a mandible, and so they have to have their helpers that feed them. So they have to have attendants that can get through these holes, and that's small enough so the queen can't get out. The attendants can get in there and feed her. But I don't like these round holes as much as these slits. And so the metal ones you can bend if you need to end up putting her in, if you go to a swarm to gather it and you happen across the queen, and I've heard some people happen across 7 queens because the one will travel with the hive, but a few more got hatched out and they went with all the bees. And so have multiple, you can usually get these in packs of 10, but get the metal ones. Plastic is going to break, and if that spring breaks, she's gone. And if you catch the queen, when you catch a swarm, you own them. I could take this clip, put it in this box, go sit in my vehicle and watch them all. It takes a while, so I'll usually pop them out. But that queen smell, and that's why when I show up, they've been sprayed with what smells like a queen. And I usually try to, so I spray them down, then I come through and spray all my frames down so it's all in there. So they'll want to start going down in there. But if you come up on a ball of bees, she's going to be in the middle. So you've got a little bit of work if it's on a tree branch. That's why I have equipment in my bucket for trimming trees. I have these are the bomb. They fit in my little bucket. So that's why those are on. These are awesome. They're awesome. This one I've never had to use because you don't really want to jar them because they're a ball and they'll fall off on clumps. They're hanging on one another. I've got a couple pieces of cardboard. So I've never used them personally, but my mentor, he said he went to his first swarm, and you're nervous as heck. You don't know what you're doing. You've never done this before. You got to get past it, get over it, but you got to start scooping bees somehow. So he said his were on a side of a pile of bricks, like a stack of a pallet of bricks, and so he just took a couple pieces of cardboard and started putting it in the box. If you need to, I've never used them, but they're here if I need to. I tend to, coolest feeling ever, stick your hand, grab the bottom of a ball of bees, and they're all buzzing and moving and a little bit of a vibration, but you slowly pull them apart because they're clumped together, they're holding on to each other. Slowly pull them apart, and what you've done is you've kind of set the reset of the pause button again, is I can inspect both sides of my hands and see if the queen's on there. So that's why it's important to have these guys really super close. but also have some good gloves and good equipment. I mean, some people have gone out and done swarms without the equipment, but I don't. I've gotten a few swarms that the temperament, you'll learn a lot about the temperament of the swarm you collected by the amount of stingers in your gloves. And I've collected some that left a lot of stingers, and I kind of wish I just left them be. So, it's nerve-wracking to go out and get your first swarm, but bees don't wake up one morning and swarm. They've thought about it 3 weeks prior, and they've set the house up to leave behind. So when they swarm, usually about 60% of them and the queen leave, and about 40% of them stay behind. And they set the house up so that 40% that stays behind will have success. So the first thing they start doing is they start increasing the drones in the hive. So they lay more they leave more males. The old queen needs to go flying. She goes away. So that queen could have been in this box for a year and a half, 2 years. She's never left. She's fat, she's out of shape. So they'll start running her around, getting her in shape. The attendants will. Yeah, it's crazy. So then you'll start seeing, these are kind of the things to look for to know, and this is kind of getting ahead of it all, but you got to understand the mechanisms of the swarm so you kind of get it all. A swarm is just not, oh, they didn't like their home and they left. I mean, they may have made the decision, oh, it's too dirty, oh, it's too full, they just don't have enough room. Those are why you need to get in the hive throughout the summer. Those are the things that you're looking at, and that's kind of above and beyond what we're going to talk about here. But they start running her around, so then you start seeing voids in, this one's kind of you can tell this one's, I pulled some webbing off of there. This has had some wax moths in it. That one's a mild one. But they start running her around, and so when a nurse bee hatches out, there'll be an empty cell, and you want to see those empty cells that are kind of random be backfilled with an egg. And those eggs are like, they're about 1/10 the size of a rice and grain of rice. So they're super hard to see, but if you get the sun behind you, and I'm getting close to that, but my mentor, he keeps a magnifying glass in his box too, because you kind of need to be able to see down into those. And in the darker ones you can definitely see the contrast of the white egg. But if you get the sun behind you and you're looking in there, you can see the egg will be straight up in the center of the bottom of the comb. If you start to see where she is not backlayed in a lot of areas, you know, your numbers have started to decrease, that's a sign that they're running her around, getting her in shape, not letting her lay. So that's first, you see an increase in drone brood, which is a bigger cell. That's why I say there was two different sizes of cells on this. But also, the nurse bees are the girls. Most of the hive, all hive is girls, basically, if you guys didn't know that. The nurse bees, they cap the hive, they cap the comb off flat. The drones are concave, because they're just bigger. But you'll normally see maybe 1/10 of the hive. Drones are not uncommon to see in any normal, well-functioning hive. But if you start to see, if you pull out a frame and you're like, yeah, there's a few drones on there, and you pull out another frame, it's like, yeah, there's still a few on there. You start to notice more. That's the first sign that, once they've decided they're going to swarm, they're going to swarm. So whether they're yours, there's ways that, you know, you can make them think they swarm and put them in another box. You know, we can get into that in other classes. But Once they make that decision, they're going to go. But they've made that decision to consciously leave a perfectly good, well-running home. And they've got to start, they've got to draw a comb, they've got to find a place, and they've got to draw it out, they've got to find resources, they've got to, get their honey, their nectar stores, and their pollen stores. They have a work ethic. If you can come across a swarm in the spring, you'll have honey by fall. If you buy a nuke, 90% chance you won't have enough honey to harvest by fall. There's no motivation there for them to kind of get going. We've got to make a new queen, she's got to get mated, and then she's got to learn how to lay. And so you buy nukes. That's okay to get your start, but if you can catch a swarm, that's what you want, because they're motivated. But then you also got to make sure that you leave them enough space to expand, and that's just the learning process.
So, we don't have somebody to call us and tell us about a swarm, and how would you go about finding it?
Social media.
There's,
The network. If we all kind of network a little bit together, we know locations. I mean, I've traveled as far as an hour one way to go get them. It just depends on how desperate, how much time you have.
how do you transport them?
In the summertime, I have a box, usually with a big box and a little box, and the lid all zip tied, or ratchet strap. That's why ratchet strap's on your list of stuff to have. Ratchet straps together. I don't keep it in my car because this doesn't do well when it's 140 inside your vehicle. But I have it ready to go along with my bucket and my jacket at the drop of the hat, because you can get a phone call. My mentor was calling me. He's like, you're out in your direction. Get on Facebook, let people know that you're starting to get into bees, and if they see something,
There's two Facebook groups that I found. One is Northeastern Oklahoma Beekeeping, and then there's just like Oklahoma Bees.
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
actually quite a few posts of
yes, people will get on them knowing that they've got bees swarming,
Yeah.
and they'll put it out there. And so usually a location, but let your friends know that you're getting into bees. That's usually word of mouth really gets. Yeah, Northeastern.
Do you tend to them every day?
No. With what I was describing, about every 3 weeks is enough. Because when you get in here, you almost set them back a week. Because of pulling them apart, you're going to kill a few, not intentional, but by the time you slide this back in there and then you set your box back on here, there's some on there. I mean, there's no way not to kill them. So every 3 weeks gives you a feel. Sometimes, and this is more advanced, but you can even walk up to them and knock on there. And if they do a zzz, they have ownership of that box, they're fine. I wouldn't worry about them. If you knock on there and you hear nothing, that means they're like, we don't want to protect this anymore. We don't care. That is the simplest, easiest thing. And you can do that every day. Watching bees come on and off the front porch is the most amazing, soothing therapy you can do. You'll see the different colors. Your eyes will get to watching them at the land. You'll see the different colors of pollen coming in on their legs, balls up on their legs. Early spring, usually the first pollen is like a green. I guess it's spruce and cedar. Your evergreen trees are the first pollens. You'll see these bright, ridiculous orange and yellows. I mean, the colors of pollen, and it's kind of cool. It gives you an idea of if you know what different pollens are coming in. And if they are coming in with a bunch of pollen, that tells you the queen's in there doing their job. The pollen is what the first bees are fed. So just sitting and watching the porch, if they're kind of just not really on a mission, they're just kind of dallying around, I'd be a little nervous. I might do a little knock on the door. Don't do more than 3, or you're going to have somebody come out and greet you. But if you just give them just a nice solid knock, and if you're close enough, I've got a little microphone on and I keep this in my jacket, but this is just a little microphone with earbuds, and I can set one of the earbuds down underneath here, and I set this as the receiver down underneath as I knock, then I can hear them better. I don't have to get quite as close. But you'll hear them. There's a normal hum to the hive, and you do that, and it crescendos. It's distinct if they're.
Can you have them fairly close to your house?
No, I've got them out in the way. I do feed them close to my house. Feeding is off of everybody's territory, and I'll stand there this close to them. I'll let them walk on me and stuff because they're not defending. They'll get defensive around their own hive, and that's when they start.
Well,
they
that
want
would
you
be
out.
another reason why you would want to back into the house.
Yeah. But a lot of people will set them up in towns, and they'll set them up in their backyard, and I've heard them set them up in their backyard, like facing the fence, so they almost have to go up and out faster, and so then they're not bothering the neighbors' kids in the pool and stuff. But then when it gets dry, they need a drink, so a lot of times they end up in those pools or hummingbird feeders or stuff like that too. But
We have an acreage, but I had thought about putting it down by my garden, but I don't have.
Bees will
much
fly.
sun.
They'll fly 2 to 3 miles foraging, so it doesn't have to be super close, but also keep that in mind when if you got crop farming, that's why I love it out here, is there's not a lot of crop farming out here and not a lot of sprays and pesticides. If your whole hive dies out, they got into a pesticide, or if the whole hive leaves, they got into something. Normal, typical situations, they 60-40 about. They'll leave some behind to keep on, and then the swarm ones.
Well, and I do have some flat areas, because we live on a rock hill, and the elevation from where I'm at is about 300 feet tall. But anyway, I have different levels.
Make sure it's somewhere you can get to, like drive a vehicle to or something, because you're gonna haul this stuff in and out. Say you had a swarm, you didn't catch them. Now you've got 2 boxes set up. It's like, oh man, I've got maybe enough to fill one. You're gonna need to cut them down and not let the beetles take charge. Let me cover this real quick, and then we'll kind of get to questions. But this right here is a catch box. And this is my secret weapon that I want to teach you guys about. If you'll notice, this one's taller than this one. This one's got the frame underneath of it. This is just a 1x12. So it's whatever 1x12 dimension is, 11 and 3/4, 11 and a half. So just a 1x12 box, the same size as these. Like I said, beesource.com has the dimensions of all this and how to do the grooves so your frames fit in here and everything. And then I painted it black. I learned that you paint them before you put them together. It's a lot easier. And then I've even gone through and I have it's a little nacho crock pot that I use just for beeswax. And I painted inside of this so it smells like bees. If you don't have that, you don't have honey or the comb, the wax yet. And people ask me all the time if I sell comb. It's way too valuable to put back in your hives to sell. I'm pretty stingy with it. And they work so hard to produce it, but what were the statistics I heard that it takes 6 pounds of honey to make 1 pound of wax? 6 pounds of honey but it takes them a lot more effort to make their beeswax. So I try to, any that I gather, I remelt it down and try to reuse it back in the hive. But you may not have the wax to begin with, but it smells like bees, so it attracts bees. This is your catch box. Set these. This is the first thing I would build. Set these, I mean, if you got 30, 40 acres, you should have 4 or 5 of them around. Set these where you want to put your bees. Because wherever these are, you don't even have to have your yard set up. If you got a couple cinder blocks, set this on it, set this on it, and a lid, and you're ready to lure in bees. A lot of people put them up in the trees. My bees in my yard don't live in the trees. They live on the ground. So once you get bees, these even work better. But this bottom box, the hole in the front is 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches. There's, I forget who did the studies, but this design has been studied by a couple colleges. So it's 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches. And then I started having to I used to have just a screw in the hole because birds were getting there and building a bird's nest. Then I had mice starting to get in mice nests. So I put hardware cloth, the bigger, I don't know if you guys can see that, the bigger, probably half-inch hardware cloth inside of the hole. Because, yeah, it's just a small piece on the inside of the hole. Mice can't get in, the bees can still get in and out, and then birds can't get in. And unfortunately, the mud daubers and the wasps can still get in. So check this every time you're out in the apiary, especially in the summer. Get these set up by February. The bees are already in April. So this is the first thing you want to build. The first thing, and it's simple. It's just a box, 1 by 12. You don't even have to cut this size. And depending on how you build your corners, the bottom part of it, this one's starting to rot a little bit. You just might have to replace every once in a while. Cotton ball. You got your regular box. They may come in here and build underneath these frames across this way. Hopefully they'll come up into your frames that you've got some foundation and stuff in and build up in there. They may come in below. But take a cotton ball and stuff it in the back of the frames and put a couple drops of lemongrass oil in it. So this is called a catch box. I would build a lot of these. And the cool thing about it, now I've got spare equipment. When I'm out working and looking in another hive, it's like, man, these guys are running out of space. I've got a box right there. I don't have to get back into that hive. You never want to leave your apiary. Like if you got more than one hive, you don't want to walk away from it because with the lid off, because the neighboring bees and you just might have lost both your hives. So you have to close it back up, go back, get another box. It's just really nice to have that handy, and then I can come back and replenish this anytime. I don't have to worry about getting into the bees, into the hive. So catch box, dark, clean. Like I said, get in here cautiously because the wasps do like it. You're out in full sun and they like hot. And so the wasps might be in here. There might be a mouse nest in here. The daubers, just kind of clean it up. Reapply the lemongrass oil. I even put a drop on the front of the hole just to kind of get that smell going in. If you see, they'll send out scouts to go scout out a new place to live before they swarm. And you may see a scout checking out your box. Just stay away, leave it alone. If you see somebody take up residence in your box, leave it alone for about 3 weeks. Let them make it theirs. Don't get too excited and want to get into it too quickly. but, I mean, it's a freebie. So, social media, catch boxes, call up any of your exterminators. A lot of them are really good about they refuse to spray bees. So, you might get on their list for, hey, if you ever come across, if somebody calls you with, it's all about networking, letting people know that you're doing bees. You may not be into it confidently, but, man, if you can get a hold of the swarm, they're way better than buying bees, and they're free. Fire departments, they get phone calls for swarms and stuff. People don't know who to call. So get your name on all these lists and social media is awesome. Okay.
There's a beekeeper chapter here in Tahlequah.
Is there?
Yeah, and it's got a pretty decent list of those who will show up and like do removals for you.
That's good. That's
So
good.
you can go online, I want to say it's like Beekeeping of Cherokee County on Facebook.
Okay. That's good to know.
But there's a local chapter, and they'll get together every once in a while and kind of
Okay.
talk.
It's
And
another place to network and stuff.
Yeah, and they're a pretty good group. I know there's one fella, his name's Craig Clifford. He'll usually come and help a little bit about that kind of stuff as well. But we do have a local chapter in town.
Sweet. Good to know. Really good to know. So, if you're on Facebook, seek out some of these sites, and then February, March, start posting on your own. Find a stock photo on the internet somewhere and just post that picture saying, hey, if you ever see a mob like this, please keep me in mind. Here's my phone number, or put my name down. Just the more people that know you're beekeeping, because you never know when that's going to come up. And it's time sensitive. They may be there for an hour, they may be there for a couple days, but I got to a place and he was showing me around because he had some living in the walls of his house, which I don't even like doing that stuff. So as a newbie, stay away from already established hives in houses. You want to go for just the swarm. And people will call them swarms, but if they're living in like a water meter box or something, you're gonna want to smoke them. But then that's still another. You can take their comb and rubber band it. That's another thing. I think that's on the list of. Oh, it's not on the list of stuff to have. Rubber bands are handy. I've got these big bags of rubber bands, super cheap at Walmart. If you come across, you may even come across some that are in a tree that have already started to drop home.